Emma stared at the 3 crumpled dollar bills in her hand and felt her stomach twist with hunger. "That's all I have left," she whispered to herself. It was 7:30 on a cold November evening, and she stood outside Murphy's gas station on the edge of town. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, casting harsh shadows across the cracked pavement. Her old jacket, 2 sizes too big, did little to keep out the biting wind. She had just finished her shift at the diner downtown. 5 hours of serving coffee and clearing tables for tips that barely covered the bus fare home. Her mother needed medicine. The electricity bill was overdue, and now these $3 were supposed to buy her dinner. But life had other plans. Emma was about to walk into the convenience store when she heard it. A weak, rattling cough coming from behind the dumpster. "Hello?" she called out, her voice small against the wind. The coughing continued. Emma hesitated, then slowly walked around the side of the building. That's when she saw him. An elderly man sat slumped against the brick wall, his clothes torn and dirty. His face was gaunt, cheekbones sharp beneath papery skin. His hands shook as he tried to pull his thin jacket tighter around his frail body. "Sir." Emma knelt beside him. "Sir, are you okay?" The old man's eyes fluttered open. They were a striking blue, somehow still bright despite the obvious exhaustion etched into every line of his face. "Just cold," he managed to say, "and hungry. Haven't eaten in 3 days." Emma's heart clenched. She looked down at the $3 in her hand, then back at the man's hollow cheeks. "When did you last have a meal?" she asked softly. "Can't remember, child." His voice was barely a whisper. "Lost my way. Lost everything." Emma made a decision in that moment that would change her life forever, though she didn't know it yet. "Wait here," she said, standing up. "I'll be right back." She walked into the convenience store, the bell above the door jingling cheerfully. The warm air inside felt like a blessing after the cold outside. Emma moved quickly through the aisles, calculating in her head. A sandwich was $2.50. That left 50 cents. She grabbed a bottle of water for 49 cents, 1 penny left. At the counter, she placed the items down and pulled out her $3. "That'll be $2.99, the cashier said, barely looking up from her phone. Emma handed over the money and took the brown paper bag. Her own stomach growled loudly, but she ignored it. She'd eaten a few fries left on a plate during her shift. She could make it until tomorrow. Outside, the old man was still there, his eyes closed. For a terrifying moment, Emma thought he might have died, but then she saw his chest rise and fall, shallow but steady. "Sir?" She touched his shoulder gently. "I brought you something." His eyes opened again, and when he saw the bag, something flickered across his face. Surprised disbelief. "For me?" he asked. "Yes, sir." Emma helped him sit up straighter. "It's not much, but it's warm." She opened the sandwich and handed it to him along with the water. The old man's hands trembled as he took the food. He stared at it for a long moment, and Emma could have sworn she saw tears gathering in those blue eyes. "Why?" he asked, his voice cracking. "Why would you do this?" Emma shrugged, suddenly feeling shy. "Because everyone deserves kindness. Because you're hungry. Because it's the right thing to do." "But you look like you need this meal yourself, child." He wasn't wrong. Emma's jeans hung loose on her thin frame. Her shirt was faded from too many washes. Dark circles shadowed her eyes from working late nights and studying even later. "I'll be okay," Emma said with a small smile. "I have a home to go to." "You don't. That makes you need it more than me." The old man took a bite of the sandwich, and Emma watched as relief washed over his face. He ate slowly, savoring each bite like it was the finest meal he'd ever tasted. "What's your name, child?" he asked between bites. Emma Clark." "Emma," he repeated, as if committing it to memory. "That's a beautiful name. A kind name. What's yours, sir?" The old man paused, the sandwich halfway to his mouth. His eyes grew distant, almost calculating. "You can call me Henry," he said finally. "Well, Mr. Henry, I'm glad I could help." Emma stood up, brushing off her jeans. "I need to catch the last bus home." "Will you be okay here?" Henry looked up at her, and in that moment something passed between them. Something Emma couldn't quite name. It felt important, like standing at the edge of something vast. "I'll be fine now," Henry said. "Because of you." Emma smiled and turned to leave. She had taken maybe 5 steps when Henry called out, "Emma?" She turned back. "Yes, sir?" "You have the rarest gift in this world, a truly kind heart. Don't ever let anyone take that from you. And remember this moment, because kindness always comes back around. Always. The words felt heavy with meaning Emma didn't quite understand. She nodded anyway. I'll remember, Mr. Henry. Stay warm. She walked away, heading toward the bus stop on the corner. She didn't look back, so she didn't see the way Henry watched her go. Didn't see him pull out a cell phone from his pocket, one that looked far too expensive for a homeless man. Didn't hear him make a quiet call. I found her, Henry said into the phone, his voice suddenly stronger, more commanding. After all these years of looking, I finally found someone with a truly pure heart. Her name is Emma Clark. I want you to find out everything about her. Every detail. And prepare everything. Tomorrow we change her life. Emma waited at the bus stop, shivering in the cold. Her stomach growled again, louder this time. She had no money left. No food at home except some stale bread and peanut butter. Her mother's medicine was running low. The bills were piling up, but somehow giving that sandwich to Henry had felt right. Like the universe was watching. Like something bigger than herself was at work. She couldn't have imagined how right she was. The next morning, Emma woke to her mother's coughing from the next room. Their trailer was small, barely big enough for the two of them. The heating hadn't worked in weeks. Emma pulled on 2 sweaters and her worn-out jeans, the same ones from last night. "Mum?" she called out, heading to the tiny bedroom. Her mother, Sarah, lay in bed, her face pale and drawn. She'd been sick for 6 months now. Some kind of respiratory infection that wouldn't go away. The county hospital said she needed tests they couldn't afford. Medication that cost hundreds of dollars. Rest that wasn't possible when bills needed paying. "I'm okay, baby," Sarah said, though her voice was weak. "You better hurry or you'll miss the bus." Emma felt the familiar ache in her chest. Guilt, helplessness, anger at a world that let good people suffer. "I'll bring home my tips tonight," Emma promised. "Maybe we can get your prescription refilled. Don't worry about me. Focus on school. Your education is our way out of this." Emma kissed her mother's forehead and grabbed her backpack. Inside were textbooks she'd borrowed from the library because they couldn't afford to buy them. Homework she'd done by flashlight last night to save on electricity. The walk to the bus stop took 15 minutes. Emma didn't mind. It gave her time to think, to plan, to dream about a different life, but nothing could have prepared her for what was waiting. The school bus rumbled along the highway, its shocks long past their prime. Emma sat in her usual spot at the back, trying to make herself invisible. It was a skill she'd perfected over 3 years at Lincoln High. Being poor in a school full of rich kids was like having a target painted on your back. "Hey, trailer trash," a voice called out. Emma didn't look up. She knew that voice. Madison Harper, daughter of the town's biggest real estate developer. "Queen Bee of Lincoln High, I'm talking to you, Clark." Madison stood in the aisle, flanked by her 2 best friends, Jessica and Brittany. They all wore designer jeans and expensive jackets. Their hair was perfect, their makeup flawless. Everything Emma wasn't. "Leave her alone, Madison," someone said from the front. It was Jake Martinez, one of the few people at school who didn't treat Emma like garbage. "Mind your own business, Martinez," Madison snapped. Then she turned back to Emma. "I heard your mom's still sick. That's so sad." "Oh, wait, maybe if you could actually afford doctors, she'd get better." The words hit Emma like physical blows. But she'd learned not to react. Reactions only made it worse. "Nothing to say?" Madison leaned closer. "Your silence is boring me. Just like everything else about you." The bus pulled up to the school, and Madison flounced away, her friends giggling behind her. Emma waited until everyone else got off before standing up. Her hands were shaking, but not from fear. From rage, from exhaustion, from the sheer unfairness of it all. Lincoln High School rose before her like a monument to everything she'd never have. It was a gleaming modern building with a state-of-the-art gymnasium, a theater with velvet seats, and a cafeteria that served actual gourmet food. The parking lot was full of luxury cars driven by students who'd never known what it meant to choose between heating and eating. Emma had gotten in on a district scholarship, one of only 5 awarded each year to students from the poor side of town. It was supposed to be an opportunity. Instead, it felt like torture. She walked through the front doors and headed straight for her locker. The hallway was packed with students, their voices echoing off the polished floors. Emma kept her eyes down, navigating by memory. "Emma," she turned to see her best friend, Lily Chen, rushing toward her. Lily was one of the only genuine people in this school. Her family wasn't wealthy, but they weren't struggling like Emma either. Lily was kind, funny, and fiercely loyal. "Did you hear about the assembly?" Lily asked, slightly out of breath. "What assembly?" "Principal Davis just announced it over the intercom. Everyone has to go to the auditorium at 10. "No exceptions," Emma frowned. "What's it about?" "No idea, but there are rumors flying around." Lily lowered her voice. "Someone said there are expensive cars pulling into the parking lot." "Like really expensive? Ferraris, Bentleys, Rolls-Royces. Why would expensive cars be here?" "That's what everyone's trying to figure out." They walked to their first class together, but Emma's mind was elsewhere. She couldn't stop thinking about Henry, about giving him her last $3, about the strange way he'd looked at her when she left. "You have the rarest gift in this world, a truly kind heart." Why had those words felt so important? First period dragged by. Emma tried to focus on her chemistry teacher's explanation of molecular structures, but it was impossible. Around her, students whispered and passed notes. The energy in the room felt electric, like everyone was waiting for something. Second period was worse. Emma had English with Madison Harper. "Did you see the cars?" Madison was practically squealing to her friends. "There are 15 of them, all luxury vehicles. Someone said they're worth millions." "Who do you think they're for?" Jessica asked. "Obviously someone important. Maybe they're here to recruit someone for a modeling agency. Or maybe it's a movie producer looking for fresh talent." Madison flipped her perfect hair and shot a glance at Emma. "Definitely not for anyone in this room who shops at thrift stores." Her friends laughed. Emma pretended to read her book, but her heart was racing. 15 luxury cars. The exact number Henry had somehow known would arrive. How was that possible? And why did she have the strangest feeling they were connected to last night? No, that was crazy. Henry was a homeless man. He had nothing to do with luxury cars or expensive anything, right? At 9:45, the announcement came over the intercom. "Attention all students and faculty. Please report to the main auditorium immediately. This is a mandatory assembly. I repeat, all students and faculty to the auditorium now." The hallways filled with excited chatter as everyone streamed toward the auditorium. Emma got swept up in the crowd, Lily at her side. "This is so weird," Lily whispered. "Do you think it's good weird or bad weird?" "I don't know," Emma admitted, but her hands were sweating. Her heart pounded against her ribs. Something was about to happen, something big. They entered the auditorium and Emma's breath caught. The entire front row was filled with people in expensive suits. Men and women who looked like they'd stepped out of a business magazine. Behind them stood 15 other people, all impeccably dressed, all radiating an aura of wealth and power. And there, in the center of it all, standing on the stage next to Principal Davis, was Henry, but he didn't look like the frail, homeless old man from last night. His clothes were still simple, but they were clean. His posture was straight. His eyes were sharp and calculating. And when he looked out over the assembly, searching the crowd, Emma felt like she'd been struck by lightning. Those blue eyes found hers, locked onto her, and Henry smiled. "Oh my God," Lily breathed. "Emma, why is that old man staring at you?" Emma couldn't speak, couldn't move, because she suddenly understood with perfect, terrifying clarity. Henry wasn't homeless. Henry wasn't helpless. Henry was someone powerful, someone who had been testing her. And she'd passed a test she hadn't even known she was taking. Principal Davis stepped up to the microphone, his face a mixture of confusion and excitement. "Students, faculty, thank you for gathering on such short notice. We have some very unusual and very unexpected guests today. This gentleman here has a story to share with you all, a story about one of our students. Please welcome Mr. Henry Morrison." The name hit Emma like a freight train. Henry Morrison. She knew that name. Everyone in America knew that name. Henry Morrison was one of the richest men in the country, a billionaire tech mogul who'd built his empire from nothing. He was famous for his philanthropy, his business acumen, and his eccentric personality. And Emma had given him her last $3 for a sandwich. "Oh my God," Emma whispered. "Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God." Henry stepped up to the microphone. His voice, when he spoke, was strong and clear, the voice of a man used to commanding attention. "Good morning," he said. "I'm sure you're all wondering why I'm here. Well, let me tell you a story. Last night I was cold, hungry, and alone. I'd been traveling across America for the past 6 months, disguised as a homeless person, testing humanity, looking for something rare, something precious. The auditorium was silent. Every eye was locked on Henry. I've visited 47 cities. I've sat on hundreds of street corners. I've stood outside gas stations and diners and shopping malls. And do you know how many people stopped to help me? How many people offered kindness to a dirty old man with nothing to give in return? He paused, letting the question hang in the air. 11. In 6 months, across 47 cities, only 11 people showed me genuine kindness. Emma felt tears stinging her eyes. She knew where this was going. But part of her couldn't believe it. Last night, in this very town, a teenage girl gave me something more valuable than money. She gave me her last $3, all the money she had in the world. She was clearly hungry herself, clearly struggling. But she saw another human being in need, and she acted without hesitation. Henry's eyes found Emma again. That girl is Emma Clark, and she's sitting right there. Every head in the auditorium turned to stare at Emma. She felt her face burning. Her hands gripped the armrests of her seat so hard, her knuckles turned white. This couldn't be happening. This had to be some kind of fever dream. Emma Clark, Henry continued, his voice carrying across the silent room. Would you please stand up? Go on, Lily whispered, giving her arm a gentle push. Stand up! Emma's legs felt like jelly, but somehow she managed to stand. The weight of 1,000 stares pressed down on her. She could see Madison Harper's face twisted with shock, and something that looked like fury. She could see teachers whispering to each other. She could see the suited people in the front row watching her with interest. There she is, Henry said, and his voice was warm now, almost fatherly. The girl with the kindest heart I've encountered in all my years on this earth. He walked to the edge of the stage, his movements surprisingly spry for a man who'd seemed so frail just 12 hours ago. Do you remember what you told me last night, Emma? When I asked why you would help a stranger? Emma's voice came out as barely a whisper. I said everyone deserves kindness. Louder, please. So everyone can hear. She cleared her throat. I said everyone deserves kindness. That it was the right thing to do. The right thing to do, Henry repeated, nodding. Not because you expected anything in return. Not because you thought I might be someone important. But simply because it was right. He turned to address the entire auditorium. That, ladies and gentlemen, is true character. That is humanity at its finest. And it's become so rare that I had to travel 6 months and visit 47 cities to find it. Principal Davis stepped forward, looking overwhelmed. Mr. Morrison, we're honored by your presence, but I'm not sure I understand. What exactly brings you to Lincoln High? I'm getting to that, Henry said with a slight smile. You see, for the past 20 years, I've been running a secret project. A search for individuals with extraordinary character. People who help others even when it costs them something. People who choose kindness over self-interest. When I find these people, I don't just thank them. I change their lives. Emma's heart was pounding so hard she thought it might burst through her chest. This wasn't real. This couldn't be real. Last night, Emma gave me $3. Today, I'm giving her something far more valuable. Henry gestured to the suited people in the front row. These are representatives from my foundation, my legal team, and my financial advisors. They've been working since midnight last night to prepare everything. One of the suited men stood up, holding a leather folder. He walked up to the stage and handed it to Henry. Emma, Henry said, opening the folder, I've investigated your situation. I know about your mother's illness. I know about your family's financial struggles. I know you work 2 jobs while maintaining straight A grades. I know you study by flashlight to save on electricity. And I know that despite all of this, you still chose to give your last $3 to a stranger. Tears were streaming down Emma's face now. She couldn't stop them. Therefore, effective immediately, I'm setting up a trust fund in your name. $5 million, the auditorium erupted. Students jumped to their feet. Teachers gasped. Principal Davis looked like he might faint. Emma couldn't breathe, couldn't think. $5 million. It was impossible. It was too much. It was... Wait, there's more, Henry said, raising his hand for silence. Your mother will receive the best medical care available. I've already arranged for her to be transferred to Cedars-Sinai Medical Center in Los Angeles. A private jet is waiting at the local airport. The finest specialists in respiratory medicine will see her tomorrow morning. All expenses paid forever. Emma collapsed back into her seat, sobbing. Lily threw her arms around her, crying too. Additionally, Henry continued, his voice thick with emotion now, You'll receive a full scholarship to any university in the world. Your choice. Room, board, tuition, books, everything covered. And until you graduate, you'll receive a monthly stipend of $10,000 for living expenses. The numbers were so large, Emma couldn't process them. They felt abstract, meaningless. All she could think about was her mother. Her mother would be okay. Her mother would live. The 15 luxury cars you saw outside. Henry gestured toward the auditorium doors. Those belong to the other 10 people I found during my 6-month journey. They're here today because I wanted Emma to meet them. To understand she's not alone. That kindness creates a community of extraordinary people. He looked directly at Emma again. After this assembly, I'd like you to meet them, to hear their stories, and to accept your place among them as someone who makes this world better simply by being in it. Principal Davis finally found his voice. Mr. Morrison, this is incredibly generous. We're speechless. Emma is an exceptional student, and this isn't generosity, Henry interrupted firmly. This is justice. Emma earned this through her character, through her choices. Too often, good people suffer while selfish people prosper. I've spent my life trying to correct that imbalance, even in small ways. He addressed the auditorium again. Let Emma's story be a lesson to all of you. Character matters. Kindness matters. The choices you make when no one is watching, when there's no reward in sight, those are the choices that define who you truly are. Emma watched through her tears as students around her began to react. Some were clapping, some were crying, and some, like Madison Harper, looked absolutely stunned. Miss Harper, Henry said suddenly, and Madison's face went pale. Yes, I'm talking to you. Come down here, please. Madison stood on shaky legs and walked down to the front, her usual confidence completely gone. This morning on the school bus, what did you call Emma? Madison's mouth opened and closed. No sound came out. I believe the term was trailer trash, is that correct? I didn't mean... You did mean it, Henry said, his voice cold now. You meant every word. And you know what the saddest part is? You have every material advantage in life. Money, opportunity, comfort. And you use those advantages to hurt someone who has none of them. That, Miss Harper, is the real poverty. Poverty of spirit. Poverty of character. Madison looked like she wanted the floor to swallow her whole. Emma, Henry said, turning away from Madison, has more wealth in her heart than most people accumulate in a lifetime. Money comes and goes. But character? That's forever. He dismissed Madison with a wave, and she practically ran back to her seat. Now, Henry said, his voice warm again, I believe we have some paperwork to sign and some people to meet. Emma, would you please come down here? Emma stood, her legs barely holding her up. Lily helped her into the aisle, squeezing her hand. You deserve this, Lily whispered. You deserve all of it. Emma walked down the aisle, aware of every eye on her. When she reached the stage, Henry came down the steps to meet her. Up close, she could see the kindness in his eyes, the same kindness she'd seen last night when he was pretending to be helpless. Why? Emma asked, her voice breaking. Why did you do this? Because 23 years ago I was where you are now, desperate, broke, caring for a sick parent, and a stranger helped me. She gave me $50 she couldn't afford to give. She told me to pay it forward someday. So I am, through you, through the others, through everyone whose life I can touch. He held out his hand. Welcome to a new chapter of your life, Emma, one where your kindness is rewarded, not punished, where your character is celebrated, not mocked, where your dreams become possibilities. Emma took his hand, and Henry pulled her into a gentle hug. The auditorium exploded with applause. Real applause, not mocking, not cruel, but genuine celebration. When Henry released her, he gestured to the suited people. Let me introduce you to your team. These people will help manage your trust fund, coordinate your mother's medical care, and assist with your college applications. They work for you now. A woman in her 40s stepped forward, smiling warmly. Hi, Emma, I'm Patricia Chen. I'll be your financial advisor. A younger man followed. I'm David Rodriguez, your attorney. One by one, they introduced themselves, each person radiating competence and kindness. Emma shook hands, trying to process it all. Then Henry led her to the side door of the auditorium. There are 10 people I want you to meet. 10 others who, like you, showed extraordinary kindness when it cost them something. They stepped outside into the bright morning sun. The parking lot looked like a luxury car show. Ferraris gleamed next to Bentleys. A Rolls-Royce Phantom sat beside two Lamborghinis. Mercedes and BMWs that cost more than most houses lined up like soldiers, and standing next to each car was a person. 10 men and women of different ages, different backgrounds, but all wearing the same expression: understanding, kindness, recognition. "Emma," Henry said, "meet your new family." A woman in her 60s stepped forward first. She had silver hair and warm brown eyes. "Hi, honey, I'm Margaret Williams. 3 years ago, I gave Henry my last $20 in a diner parking lot in Tennessee. I was a waitress making minimum wage, and I had just gotten an eviction notice. But Henry looked hungrier than me." She smiled at the memory. "The next day, Henry bought the diner, made me the manager, gave me a house, sent my granddaughter to college, changed everything. A young man, maybe 25, came next. I'm Carlos Mendez. I'm from Los Angeles. 2 years ago, I gave Henry my jacket on a freezing night in December. It was the only warm jacket I owned. Henry was sitting outside a gas station shivering. I couldn't walk past him." Carlos laughed. "Now I own 3 clothing stores. Henry backed my business, mentored me, believed in me when nobody else would. One by one, they shared their stories, each one different, each one beautiful. There was Jasmine, a single mother who'd given Henry her children's lunch money. Now she owned a successful catering company. There was Robert, a veteran who'd shared his last can of soup with Henry. Now he ran a non-profit helping homeless veterans. There was Yuki, an immigrant who'd bought Henry a meal with money meant for her own dinner. Now she owned a chain of restaurants. Each story ended the same way. With transformation, with opportunity, with life changed forever by a simple act of kindness. You see, Henry said to Emma, kindness isn't weakness. It's power. It's the most powerful force in the universe. And when people like you choose kindness despite hardship, despite having every reason to be selfish, you prove that humanity is still worth believing in. Emma was crying again, but they were different tears now, tears of relief, of hope, of understanding that she wasn't alone. "We have a group chat," Margaret said, smiling. "We call ourselves the Kindness Crew. Terrible name, but it stuck. We support each other, celebrate victories, help through tough times, and now you're part of it. Really." Emma's voice was small. "Really," they all said in unison and then laughed. "But there's something you need to understand," Henry said, his voice serious now. "This money, these opportunities, they're not about making your life easy. They're about removing obstacles so you can fulfill your potential. What you do with this gift is up to you." He looked at her intently. "Some lottery winners squander everything and end up worse than before. Some people given opportunities waste them. I don't think you will. But you'll be tested. People will treat you differently. Some will be jealous. Some will try to use you. You'll have to navigate a world you never imagined being part of. How do I do that?" Emma asked. "By staying true to who you are. The girl who gave $3 to a stranger isn't different from the girl standing here now. Don't let money change your character. Let your character guide how you use money." A black SUV pulled up, and a woman in medical scrubs got out. "Mr. Morrison." "The medical transport is ready." Henry nodded, then turned to Emma. "That's for your mother. A team is at your home right now packing what she'll need. The jet leaves in 2 hours. You'll fly with her to Los Angeles, get her settled at the hospital and meet with the doctors. I've arranged for a temporary apartment near the hospital, fully furnished. You can stay there as long as needed." Emma felt dizzy. Everything was happening so fast. "What about school?" She asked. "Your principal and I have already discussed it. You'll finish the semester remotely. Your teachers will send assignments electronically. Your education won't suffer. In fact, I suspect it'll improve without the stress of wondering how to survive." The Kindness Crew gathered around Emma, forming a circle. "We're going to give you our numbers," Margaret said. "Call any time, day or night. We've all been where you are right now. Overwhelmed, grateful, terrified. We'll help you through it." They spent the next hour talking, sharing advice, telling Emma about the pitfalls of sudden wealth, warning her about people who'd pretend to be friends but really want money, encouraging her to pursue her dreams without guilt. Finally, Henry looked at his watch. "Emma, we need to get you home. Your mother is probably very confused right now." They walked to one of the Bentleys, and Henry opened the door for her. Emma paused. "Mr. Morrison?" "Henry," he corrected gently. "Just Henry." "Henry," Emma said, "I still can't believe this is real. Last night I gave you $3 because it felt right. I never expected anything in return. I know, Henry said. That's exactly why you deserve everything you're receiving. True kindness expects nothing, but it deserves everything. They drove through town in silence. Emma watched familiar streets pass by, but they looked different now. The shabby houses didn't seem quite so shabby. The run-down stores didn't seem quite so depressing, because she knew she was driving through them for the last time as a poor girl. The next time she came back, everything would be different. When they pulled up to the trailer park, Emma saw the medical team's vehicles. Neighbors were gathered, watching with curiosity and concern. Her mother stood at the door looking scared and confused. "Mom!" Emma jumped out of the car and ran to her. "Baby, what's going on?" "These people showed up saying they're taking me to California. They're packing my things." "I don't understand." Emma hugged her mother tight. "Mom, something incredible happened. Something impossible. You're going to get better. You're going to see the best doctors in the country. Everything's going to be okay." Sarah pulled back, studying her daughter's face. "Emma, what are you talking about?" Henry approached, his presence commanding even in casual clothes. "Mrs. Clark, my name is Henry Morrison. Your daughter saved my life last night. Now I'm returning the favor by saving yours." He explained everything. The test, the search, Emma's kindness, the trust fund, the medical care, the future. Sarah listened, her face cycling through disbelief, shock, and finally tears. "This can't be real," she whispered. "It is," Henry assured her. "And you raised an extraordinary daughter. You should be very proud." "I am," Sarah said, looking at Emma. "I always have been. Even when we had nothing, she never complained. Never gave up. Never lost her kindness. That's because you taught her well," Henry said. "Good character is learned. Usually from good parents." The medical team finished packing. A paramedic approached. "Ma'am, we should head to the airport. The flight crew is ready." The next 2 hours were a blur. Emma packed a bag, said goodbye to Lily, who'd somehow found out the address and showed up crying, hugged neighbors who'd been kind to her family over the years. At the airport, a private jet waited. Emma had never been on a plane before, let alone one like this. Leather seats, a bedroom, a kitchen. It felt like a dream. Her mother lay in a specially configured medical bed monitored by a nurse. She already looked better, just from hope. "Emma," Sarah said as they prepared for takeoff, "are you scared?" Emma thought about it. Was she scared? Everything was changing. Her entire life was being transformed in the span of a day. "No," she said finally, "I'm not scared. Because I know who I am. I'm the girl who helped a stranger. And that's never going to change, no matter how much money I have." The private jet touched down in Los Angeles 3 hours later. Emma pressed her face to the window, watching the sprawling city unfold beneath them. It was massive, overwhelming. Nothing like the small town she'd left behind. A convoy of vehicles waited on the tarmac. An ambulance for her mother. A Mercedes for Emma. Security personnel in dark suits. It all felt surreal. Miss Clark, a woman in her 30s, approached as Emma stepped off the plane. "I'm Dr. Rachel Foster. I'll be heading your mother's medical team at Cedars-Sinai. We have everything ready for her arrival." Emma watched as paramedics carefully transferred her mother from the plane to the ambulance. Sarah caught her eye and smiled. A real smile Emma hadn't seen in months. "Is she going to be okay?" Emma asked Dr. Foster. "We won't know for certain until we complete all the tests, but I've reviewed her medical history. Her condition is serious but treatable. With the right care, medication, and time, I'm optimistic she'll make a full recovery." The weight Emma had been carrying for 6 months suddenly felt lighter. Her mother was going to live, really live. Not just survive. They arrived at the hospital 30 minutes later. Cedars-Sinai Medical Center was unlike any hospital Emma had ever seen. It looked more like a luxury hotel than a medical facility. Marble floors, artwork on the walls, staff members who smiled and moved with purpose. "Your mother will be in our VIP wing," Dr. Foster explained as they rode an elevator to the 8th floor. "Private room, 24-hour nursing care, every comfort we can provide." The room they entered took Emma's breath away. It was huge, with a king-sized hospital bed, a sitting area, a private bathroom with a shower and floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. "This is a hospital room?" Emma whispered. "This is where we treat our most important patients," Dr. Foster said. "And your mother is very important. Sarah was settled into the bed, and immediately nurses began hooking up monitors and IVs. But they did it gently, explaining each step, making sure she was comfortable. "Baby," Sarah called out. "Come here." Emma sat on the edge of the bed and took her mother's hand. It felt warmer already, less papery. "This is too much," Sarah said. "All of this for one act of kindness?" "Mom, you always told me to be kind. To help others. This is what happens when you raise your daughter, right?" Sarah's eyes filled with tears. "I tried. God knows I tried. I just wanted you to be a good person, even if we never had money." "You succeeded," Emma said firmly. "And now we're going to have both. Kindness and resources. And we're going to use them to help other people, just like Henry helped us." A knock on the door interrupted them. A young man in an expensive suit entered carrying a tablet. "Miss Clark, I'm Martin Liu from Mr. Morrison's Foundation. I wanted to brief you on the arrangements we've made for your stay in Los Angeles." He pulled up images on the tablet. "We've rented a 2-bedroom apartment in Century City, about 10 minutes from the hospital. It's fully furnished and stocked with everything you'll need. A car is at your disposal, and you have a credit card with no limit for expenses." Emma stared at the apartment photos. It was beautiful, modern, clean, nothing like the trailer she'd lived in her whole life. "Additionally," Martin continued, "we've enrolled you in online classes through UCLA Extension. You'll complete your high school requirements remotely, but with college-level instruction. And we have tutors available if you need help with any subject." He swiped to another screen. "Mr. Morrison also wanted me to inform you that he set up meetings with college admissions counselors. Harvard, Yale, Stanford, MIT, any school you're interested in. They're all aware of your situation and eager to discuss your future." Emma couldn't speak. It was too much, too fast, too overwhelming. "I know this is a lot," Martin said gently. "Take your time processing it. There's no rush on any decisions. For now, focus on your mother's recovery and settling in. Everything else can wait." He left his card and departed. Emma sat in the chair by her mother's bed, her mind spinning. "Emma," Sarah said softly, "are you okay?" "I don't know, Mom. Yesterday I was worried about how to buy your medicine. Today I'm looking at Ivy League colleges." "How did this happen?" "Because you have a good heart," Sarah said. "And sometimes, very rarely, the universe rewards good hearts." That evening, after her mother fell asleep under the influence of pain medication, Emma was driven to the apartment. It was on the 23rd floor of a modern high-rise. The doorman greeted her by name. The elevator required a key card. Everything screamed wealth and security. The apartment was even more beautiful in person. Hardwood floors, floor-to-ceiling windows with views of the city lights, a kitchen with appliances Emma didn't know how to use, 2 bathrooms with marble counters, a television bigger than the wall of her old trailer. She walked through the rooms in a daze, touching things to make sure they were real. In the master bedroom, she found a closet full of clothes, all her size. Jeans, tops, dresses, shoes, jackets. A note pinned to one outfit read, "We guessed your size from your school records. If anything doesn't fit, a personal shopper is available. Welcome home, Emma. Henry." Emma sat on the bed, which was softer than anything she'd ever felt, and finally let herself cry. Not sad tears, not scared tears, but tears of release, of gratitude, of overwhelming emotion she didn't have words for. Her phone buzzed. She'd forgotten about it in all the chaos. Messages flooded in from Lily. "OMG, Emma, call me. Everyone is talking about what happened. Madison Harper is dying. This is the best day ever." From Jake Martinez. "Hey, Emma, just wanted to say congratulations. You deserve everything good that happens to you. Seriously." And then several messages from numbers she didn't recognize. The Kindness Crew. Margaret had created a group chat. Margaret. "Emma, honey, how are you holding up?" "First day is always the hardest." Carlos. "Welcome to the insanity. It gets easier, I promise." Jasmine. "If you need anything, literally anything, we're here." Emma typed out a response. "Thank you all. I'm overwhelmed, but okay. My mom is getting amazing care. This apartment is crazy. I still can't believe any of this is real." Robert replied immediately. "It's real, and you earned it. Never forget that. You didn't win a lottery. You made a choice that showed your character. That's worth more than money." Emma fell asleep that night in a bed that felt like clouds, in an apartment that felt like a palace, in a city that felt like another planet. But she dreamed of a gas station, of a cold November night, of an old man with kind blue eyes, and she understood something profound. Henry hadn't just given her money. He'd given her proof that kindness mattered. That doing the right thing wasn't foolish. That character counted for something in a world that often seemed to value only wealth and status. The next morning, Emma woke to sunlight streaming through windows she'd forgotten to curtain. For a moment, she didn't know where she was. Then it all came flooding back. She showered in the marble bathroom, dressed in new clothes that fit perfectly, and made herself breakfast in the gleaming kitchen. Even simple tasks felt strange with such luxury. Her phone rang. Henry's name appeared on the screen. "Good morning, Emma. How did you sleep?" "Like I was floating," Emma admitted. "This apartment is incredible. I'm glad you like it. I wanted to let you know that your mother's tests are scheduled for this morning. Dr. Foster will call you with updates. But I'm confident the news will be good." "Thank you," Emma said, and the words felt inadequate. "Thank you for everything." "You already thanked me," Henry said, "last night at a gas station, with $3 and genuine compassion. Everything else is just me catching up." He paused. "Emma, there's something else I need to tell you. Something I haven't mentioned yet." Emma's heart skipped. What else could there possibly be? The other 10 people in the kindness crew? They've become something more than just recipients of help. They've become my family, my advisors, my partners in running the foundation, and I'd like you to consider joining us in that capacity. "What do you mean?" "I mean, once you finish high school and college, I'd like you to help me find other people like yourself, to help me continue this work of rewarding genuine kindness. You'd have a career, a purpose, a way to pay forward what you received." Emma thought about it. A career helping others, finding good people and changing their lives. It sounded perfect. "I'd be honored," she said. "Wonderful. But that's years away. For now, just focus on being a teenager. Heal, grow, learn, experience life without the burden of poverty weighing you down. The rest will come in time." 3 months passed in a blur. Emma's mother made a remarkable recovery. The doctors at Cedars-Sinai had diagnosed her with a severe bacterial infection that had gone untreated for so long it had damaged her lungs. With the right antibiotics, respiratory therapy, and nutritional support, Sarah improved week by week. Emma visited every day. She'd sit by her mother's bedside, telling her about the online classes she was taking, the college counselors she'd met with, the new friends she was making in the kindness crew. "You're glowing," Sarah said one afternoon in February. "I haven't seen you smile this much in years." "I'm happy, Mum, really happy. For the first time since I can remember, I'm not worried about money. I'm not worried about you dying. So I'm not worried about anything except which college to choose," Sarah laughed. What a wonderful problem to have. Emma had narrowed her choices to 3 schools: Stanford, where she could study social entrepreneurship; Harvard, with its legendary non-profit management program; and surprisingly, UCLA, which would allow her to stay close to her mother and work directly with Henry's foundation. "I'm leaning toward UCLA," Emma admitted. "Because of me?" Sarah asked, concerned. "Baby, don't limit yourself because of me. I'm getting better. I'll be fine." "It's not just you," Emma said. "It's the foundation. Henry wants me to start learning the work now. If I'm at UCLA, I can intern with them while studying." It makes sense. The truth was more complicated. Emma had fallen in love with Los Angeles, with the diversity, with the opportunities, with the feeling that anything was possible. And she wasn't ready to leave. But she also wasn't the same girl who'd stepped on that plane 3 months ago. Money changed things. Not her character, like Henry had warned against, but her circumstances, her options, her daily reality. She'd learned to navigate the world of wealth, learned which restaurants to choose, which clothes were appropriate for which occasions, how to interact with people who'd never known struggle. It was like learning a new language. The kindness crew helped immensely. Margaret taught her about financial management. Carlos showed her how to handle people who wanted to use her. Jasmine coached her on maintaining humility, despite abundance. But it was Robert, the veteran, who gave her the most important advice. "Never forget where you came from," he said during one of their video calls. "The moment you start thinking you're special because of money, you've lost what made you special in the first place. You're only special because you helped someone when you had nothing." That's worth more than all the millions in your trust fund. Emma took those words to heart. She volunteered at a homeless shelter twice a week. She donated to her old high school scholarship fund. She sent anonymous gifts to families in the trailer park where she'd grown up. And she never, ever walked past someone in need. One evening in March, Emma was walking back to her apartment from the hospital when she saw a young woman sitting on the sidewalk. She was probably early 20s with a backpack and a cardboard sign that read, "Hungry. Anything helps." God bless, Emma stopped. The woman looked up, her eyes wary. She'd probably been ignored by 100 people that day. "Hi," Emma said. "Have you eaten today?" The woman shook her head. "There's a restaurant around the corner. Will you let me buy you dinner?" Suspicion flickered across the woman's face. "Why?" "Because someone did it for me once. And it changed my life." They sat in a diner booth and Emma watched the woman eat like she hadn't had a meal in days. Which it turned out she hadn't. "I'm Kayla," she said between bites. "I aged out of foster care last year. Couldn't afford college. Couldn't find a job that paid enough for rent. Ended up on the streets." Emma's heart ached. This could have been her. Would have been her if not for one act of kindness. "Kayla," Emma said carefully, "what if I told you things could get better? That there are people who help others just because it's right?" She told Kayla about the foundation, about resources available, about second chances. By the time they left the diner, Kayla had Henry's foundation contact information, a week's worth of hotel stay paid for, and hope in her eyes. "Why did you do this?" Kayla asked as they parted ways. Emma smiled. "Because everyone deserves kindness." She called Henry that night and told him about Kayla. "You're learning," he said, approval warm in his voice. "This is what the work looks like. One person at a time. One act of kindness at a time. It doesn't always result in dramatic transformations. Sometimes it's just a meal and a hotel room. But it matters, it does," Emma agreed. "Thank you for teaching me that." "You already knew it," Henry corrected. "I just gave you resources to act on it more freely." In April, Sarah was discharged from the hospital. The doctors declared her infection completely cleared. Her lungs were healing. She'd need ongoing monitoring, but she was healthy, truly healthy. They threw a small celebration in the apartment. The kindness crew flew in. Margaret brought a cake she'd baked herself. Carlos brought flowers. Jasmine catered dinner. Robert gave Sarah a photo album he'd assembled, documenting her recovery journey. "You raised an angel," Margaret told Sarah as they sat on the balcony watching the sunset. "Emma is the kindest soul I've ever met. And that's saying something, because everyone in our group is pretty special. She gets it from her grandmother," Sarah said. "My mother was the same way. Always helping others, even when we had nothing." Emma carries that legacy. Henry arrived late, having flown in from a business meeting in New York. He hugged Sarah gently. "How are you feeling, Mrs. Clark?" "Please call me Sarah. And I feel like I've been given a second chance at life." "Thanks to you." "Thanks to your daughter," Henry corrected. "I simply responded to her kindness." He turned to Emma. "Can we talk privately for a moment?" They stepped into Emma's bedroom. Henry closed the door and sat on the edge of the bed. "Emma, you've been with us for 3 months now. You've handled this transition with remarkable grace. You've stayed true to yourself. You've used your resources to help others. And you've maintained your character despite every test." "Thank you," Emma said, wondering where this was going. "I have something for you." Henry pulled out an envelope from his jacket. "This is a letter I wrote the night I met you. After you walked away, after I made that phone call, I sat at that gas station and wrote down my first impressions, what I saw in you, what I hoped you'd become." He handed her the envelope. "Read it when you're alone. But know this, you exceeded every hope I had. You're not just kind, you're wise, you're strong. You're exactly the kind of person who makes this world better." Emma felt tears welling up. "I don't know what to say. Don't say anything. Just keep being you. Keep helping people. Keep shining your light." Henry stood. "I need to get back to the celebration. Your mother will wonder where we went." After everyone left that night, Emma opened the envelope. Inside was a handwritten letter on expensive stationery. November 11th, 10:37 p.m., Murphy's gas station. "I just met an angel. Her name is Emma Clark. She gave me $3, but she gave me so much more. She gave me hope that humanity isn't lost, that kindness still exists. That character matters. This girl is special. not because of potential wealth or opportunity, but because of who she is at her core. I've tested thousands of people over the years. Most fail. They walk past. They look away. They make excuses. Emma stopped. She saw another human being in need and acted without hesitation, without calculation, without expectation of reward. I'm going to change her life, but I suspect she's already changed mine, because meeting people like Emma reminds me why I do this work, why I search for kindness in a world that often seems devoid of it. Tomorrow I will tell her about the money, about the opportunities, about the life she can have. But tonight, I simply want to document this moment. The moment I found someone truly extraordinary. Emma Clark, if you're reading this, know that you earned every bit of what you received. Not through luck, not through circumstances, but through character, through choice, through being the kind of person the world desperately needs more of. Stay kind, stay humble, stay true, and know that you matter more than you'll ever know. With deepest respect and admiration, Henry Morrison. Emma read the letter 3 times, tears streaming down her face. Then she carefully folded it and placed it in her nightstand drawer. 4 years later, Emma stood at the podium in UCLA's Royce Hall, looking out at a sea of graduating seniors. Her cap and gown felt strange after 4 years of casual California clothes. But today was special. Today was the culmination of a journey that started with $3 at a gas station. When I came to UCLA 4 years ago, Emma said, her voice carrying across the packed auditorium, I didn't know who I was supposed to become. I only knew who I'd always been. A girl who believed in kindness. A girl who thought helping others mattered. She paused, gathering her thoughts. Today I stand before you not just as valedictorian, but as someone who's learned that our smallest actions create our biggest impacts. 4 years ago I shared my last $3 with a stranger. That single choice changed my entire life. In the front row, Sarah sat beaming, healthy and radiant. Next to her was Henry, who'd become like a grandfather to Emma. The entire kindness crew had flown in for the ceremony. Margaret, Carlos, Jasmine, Robert, Yuki, and the others. Her chosen family. But here's what I've learned, Emma continued. The money didn't change me. The opportunity didn't change me. What changed was my ability to help more people, to turn my values into action on a larger scale. She looked directly at Henry. Someone once told me that character is who you are when no one's watching, when there's no reward, when it costs you something. That's still true. But I've also learned that character is what you do with resources when you finally have them. Emma shared statistics from her 4 years working with Henry's foundation. They'd identified and helped 83 people who'd shown extraordinary kindness. They'd set up scholarship funds in 12 cities. They'd created job training programs in underserved communities. They'd built housing for families transitioning out of homelessness. Each person we helped became a multiplier of kindness, Emma said. They helped others who helped others who helped others. One act of kindness becomes 1,000. That's the math that actually matters. The audience applauded, but Emma wasn't finished. I want to tell you about someone I met 3 years ago. Her name was Kayla. She was living on the streets, aged out of foster care, no support system. I bought her dinner because someone once bought dinner for someone I loved. Today, Kayla just finished her nursing degree. She volunteers at a free clinic. She mentors other foster youth. One meal led to all of that. Emma's voice grew stronger. So here's my challenge to all of you graduating today. You don't need millions of dollars to make a difference. You just need to care, to see other people as human, to help when you can. Maybe it's $3. Maybe it's your time. Maybe it's just acknowledging someone's existence when the rest of the world ignores them. She concluded with a story about her mother, about struggling to pay for medicine, about choosing between heating and eating, about the shame and fear of poverty. My mother taught me that wealth isn't about money. It's about love, dignity, and character. She was rich in all the ways that mattered, long before we had a penny to our names. And she's still rich now in all the same ways. That's the wealth worth pursuing. The standing ovation lasted 5 minutes. After the ceremony, Emma was swarmed by well-wishers. Professors congratulated her. Classmates asked for advice. News reporters requested interviews about her story, which had become somewhat famous over the years. But Emma made her way through the crowd to the people who mattered most. I'm so proud of you. Baby, Sarah said, pulling her into a tight hug. So incredibly proud. You made me who I am, Mum. Henry waited his turn, then embraced Emma gently. Remember when I said you exceeded every hope I had for you? Yes, I was wrong. You didn't just exceed them. You obliterated them. You've become a force for good in this world, Emma. And it's only the beginning. What's next? Emma asked. That's up to you. You have job offers from 6 different non-profits. You could run any one of them, or you could stay with the foundation and help me expand the Kindness Crew program globally. Or you could do something I haven't even thought of yet, Emma smiled. She'd already made her decision. I want to stay with the foundation, but I want to add something new. A program for teenagers who are struggling like I was, who are working multiple jobs while trying to stay in school, who are caring for sick parents, who are one disaster away from losing everything. Her eyes lit up with passion. We could create support networks, provide resources before they hit crisis point, offer mentorship from people who've been there, prevent people from falling through the cracks instead of just catching them after they've fallen. Henry's face broke into a huge grin. That's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Let's do it. Really, really. In fact, let's announce it today. At the celebration dinner. We'll call it the Emma Clark Initiative. Your name, your vision, your legacy. No, Emma said firmly, not my name. Let's call it the $3 Initiative, because that's where it all started. With $3 and a choice to be kind. That evening at an elegant restaurant overlooking the Pacific Ocean, the Kindness Crew gathered for a celebration dinner. Emma's closest friends from UCLA joined them. Lily flew in from New York, where she was finishing medical school. Even Principal Davis from Lincoln High made the trip. I have an announcement, Henry said, standing with a glass of champagne. Emma has proposed a new program, the $3 Initiative. It will focus on helping teenagers who are struggling with poverty, family illness, and hardship, providing support before crisis hits, building networks of care. He looked at Emma with genuine affection. And I've decided to donate $50 million to launch it. With Emma as the director, the room erupted in applause and cheers. Emma stood, feeling overwhelmed. I can't do this alone. I'll need help. I'll need the wisdom and experience of everyone at this table. Will you help me? Always, Margaret said immediately. Of course, Carlos added one by one. They all agreed. The Kindness Crew would expand. The work would grow. The impact would multiply. Later that night, Emma stood on the balcony of her apartment looking out at the city lights. So much had changed in 4 years. So much was still changing. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. My name is Marcus. I'm 17. I work 2 jobs and take care of my sick dad. I heard about the $3 Initiative. Can you help? Emma smiled and typed back immediately. Yes, tell me your story. We'll figure it out together. This was the work. This was the purpose. This was why she'd been given everything. Not to hoard it, not to waste it, but to multiply it, to spread it, to create a world where kindness was rewarded, where character mattered, where good people didn't have to struggle alone. 3 months later, the $3 Initiative launched with headquarters in Los Angeles and satellite offices in 10 cities. They'd already identified 200 teenagers who needed help. Each one received financial support, mentorship, and most importantly, hope. Emma personally met with every participant. She listened to their stories. She saw herself in their struggles. And she promised them what Henry had promised her, that their kindness wouldn't be forgotten, that their character would be rewarded, that their lives could be different. On the 1-year anniversary of the program, Emma returned to Murphy's gas station, the place where it all began. She stood in the exact spot where she'd met Henry, where she'd made a choice that changed everything. A text from Henry appeared on her phone. Thinking of you today. Remembering where we both started. Grateful for who we've both become. Emma typed back, me too. Thank you for seeing me. Thank you for believing in me. Thank you for teaching me that kindness is power. You taught me that, Henry replied. I just gave you tools to prove it. A car pulled up to the gas station. An elderly woman got out, fumbling with her purse. Emma watched as several people walked past her, ignoring her struggle with the heavy gas nozzle. Emma walked over. Ma'am, can I help you with that? The woman looked up, surprised and grateful. Oh, would you? These new pumps are so confusing. Emma helped her fill the tank, refusing payment when the woman offered. Just pay it forward someday, Emma said. Help someone else when you can." The woman smiled. "You remind me of someone I used to know. My granddaughter. She had a heart of gold like you." "Had?" Emma asked gently. "She passed away 5 years ago, cancer. She was only 20, but she taught me what really matters in life: kindness, love, helping others." Emma felt tears stinging her eyes. "She sounds wonderful." She was. "And she'd be happy to know there are still people like you in the world." They hugged, two strangers connected by compassion. Then the woman drove away, and Emma stood alone at the gas station once more. But she wasn't really alone. She carried her mother's strength, Henry's wisdom, the kindness crew's support. And most importantly, she carried the knowledge that she'd stayed true to herself despite everything. 5 years later, the $3 initiative had helped over 10,000 teenagers. Graduation rates among participants were 94%. College attendance was 83%. And most importantly, 99% of participants reported helping others in turn. The cycle continued. Kindness multiplied. Lives changed. Hope spread. Emma was 27 now. Still young. Still learning. Still growing. But also confident in her purpose. Clear on her mission. Certain that the choice she'd made at 17, to share $3 with a stranger, had been the most important choice of her life. Because it hadn't just changed her life. It had changed thousands of lives, and would continue changing lives for generations to come. That's the power of kindness. That's the mathematics of compassion. That's the legacy of a girl who gave everything she had because someone else needed it more. Emma Clark started with $3 and ended up changing the world. Not because she was special, but because she chose to be kind when it cost her everything. And that choice made all the difference.